So what do the conspirators always want you to think about the person who attempted or successfully assassinated someone they were after? Lone gunman. That is always what they are after. And in their propaganda outlet, where they're interviewing some guy that magically fell out of the sky and knows this guy from high school, listen to how he prompted this question and then listen to this kid's answer.
You said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was
Definitely a loner. Definitely a lone gunman. Obviously, we know what the topic here is, but we're going to talk about the details surrounding this incident that do not line up, because there are a lot. There's also a new video out that is so suspicious to me, I don't even know how to properly verbalize it. I'm going to have to show it to you guys, because it does not make sense, and it absolutely, to me, looks like conspiracy cover-up. This is a thing to make you think a thing, but this is not real. And we're going to talk about that. You got to be very cautious about how you talk about those things, but I'm just going to tell you, my spidey sense is screaming at me when I watch this video, okay? And so also I want to show you guys the setup, where the shooter was, where the stage was, and explain to me exactly how anyone could have gotten onto that roof and taken that shot. Riddle me that. And then we're going to look at some other things that just seem very notable, like Nancy Pelosi's tweet. And if you follow our other channel, Play with Matches with Gabi and Jesse, which is Gabrielle and my channel, we just posted a video about this, and we covered a couple of the same things. So this is going to be a very different tone video, because I don't know, man. I'd like to just, if I'm hanging out with my wife, you get the version of me that's hanging out with my wife. Now you're going to get me. This channel is called Jesse on Fire. That's exactly what you're going to get. So look at, like, Nancy Pelosi's post in response to this incident is one of the most repulsive things I've ever seen. I mean, I'm talking like utterly repulsive, a complete demonstration of who she is. More important than the demonstration of who she is the demonstration of who Trump is, though. Who that guy is. In the face of all tests, he came millimeters from death in that moment. Millimeters. And he stood up and pumped his fist and fired up the crowd. You're telling me that's not the person you want leading the country because he said some things on Twitter you didn't like? Okay, that's battle tested on the global scale. He got hit with a bullet that was intended to kill him, to turn his lights out. The thing that hit his ear, that was supposed to hit his brain. And his response was not to take a backward step, to not show any weakness at all. He stood up, pumped his fist, and said, fight, fight, fight. I'm very worried for him, though, because these guys are not going to stop here, because now he really can't lose the election. There's no scenario here where they're going to be able to play a mail-in voting, because this is over. You have to convince the public that the majority of people agree with the thing you're going to say is happening. And good luck with that now, because every single secret supporter of Donald Trump is out in the open now. No one's afraid anymore. It's insane that people were, but I understand it. I do. I completely understand. We're gonna talk more about that, but we're gonna start, let's start with like a diagram here, okay? So let's just look at the, Look at this just as a starting point, and this is not the video that I'm referencing, because we're definitely going to look at that, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean in terms of this doesn't add up, but this doesn't add up either, okay? So here's the rooftop, supporters over here. If you go onto the left side, the roof on the far left, that's where the guy took the shot from. How on earth could there have possibly been a person on that roof with a direct line of sight at the president standing on a stage if you have Secret Service there? Explain that to me. How is that possible? How many Secret Service agents are there? So what are they doing? Like, okay, how many agents do you have? Now, I personally have seen Trump's motorcade, like right next to us. When we went to UFC 287, I was with Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins coach, and they held us up at the gate. And they were like, you're going to have to wait for a little while, sir. And I said in the car, I was like, who's a bigger deal in Miami than Mike McDaniel? And they're like, Secret Service motorcade. And we're like, oh, Ron DeSantis? And we're like, Trump? Dude, he had literally a caravan of SUVs. Absolutely unbelievable number of people. Okay, how are you allocating those resources if a rooftop, there's only how many rooftops here, does not get an agent on there? How is that? How, I mean, I'm like, there's incompetence, and then there's, dude, this is, I don't need to have tactical background to know that, okay? I have no military background at all, none. I've shot a lot of guns. That has no bearing on the conversation here at all. If I know that step one of protecting the president is going to be find elevated positions and make sure that no one can be in or on one of them without us knowing about it and being able to put that threat down. Step one, dude. How? Okay? 150 yards away. Dude, again, I am not some elite tactician or elite shooter. I could shoot out a nickel at 150 yards. Okay, that's not a challenging shot at all. And I'm not saying that to give myself a hand job about shooting. I'm saying that like anyone who's competent can hit a grapefruit from that side, from that distance. Trump is alive out of sheer miracle, protected. He moved his head literally at the exact moment that the bullet was fired. So anyway, that right there does not make a lot of sense to me. But I want to show you guys the thing that I was referencing though, okay? So this is supposedly a classmate of this guy, okay? So that's where, oh, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I would appreciate it if you would do that. It's very helpful to the channel, and I would assume that you'll know by now whether or not we are like-minded and you find me entertaining, because if you don't, you probably already want to, well, you probably actually left. All right, so as a prerequisite for this is an interview supposedly with one of his former classmates, and let's just see how this feels to you.
The suspected shooter here, and we have some movement here where you hear an ambulance or a car horn, excuse that background noise. But one thing that we also heard from that conversation is that when we asked what he was bullied for, what this shooter was bullied for, he pointed to his clothing. Apparently, according to this person who says he was a classmate, the shooter would wear military-style clothes or hunting clothes regularly as he was at school. So we're
okay. So that's so he was bullied all the time. Now this is not the part. Now I'm going to show you the actual kid interviewed. All right. So yeah, he's bullied every day because of his clothes, because he wore like military-style stuff. You know, like that. You know, there's nothing generic about this. Now watch this. Does this seem authentic to you guys, or does this seem like someone who's like reading a script poorly? You know what I mean?
He was bullied almost every day.
In what way? Can you explain?
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're gonna see someone like that and they're gonna target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. And it's honestly kind of sad. Like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
Yeah. Does that seem real to you guys? That come off really authentic? You know kids these days. Is that how kids talk? You know kids these days, so, you know, I don't want to say that that's what caused it, but you never know. It's like buzzwords, buzz lines, all of which are driving towards what? Lone gunman. And we're going to come back to that, but let's just finish this fake interview.
You said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was quiet, but like he was just bullied. Like he was bullied.
They actually called him a loner. I actually did not even hear that the first time, because at that moment, right where I paused the first time is where I was like, this is fake. And so I was spinning myself up about it being, I actually didn't even hear him say loner. Now, what do you think? Because like I said, why do they do this? Lone gunman. Why do they need to make the lone gunman? Because a lone gunman does not have any co-conspirators, and the people who are actually behind these things in most cases don't want anyone to know. They want you to think. Like, they just want to get rid of a problem, okay? They want Trump gone. They think that if they get rid of him, then the problem that he provides, causes, which is their grip on global power becoming much weaker. And I mean, he is a threat to everything that these people are. I mean, they are all in cahoots together. They're cronies. Here's the other thing. I want to talk more about Trump and his personality and just who he is as a man after this. Not just the fact that he's a fighter, more than that. I think I now understand what really drives him, and it makes him the exact person that you want leading the country. And I cannot stress that enough. I was wrong about him. You know, I mean, it's almost 10 years ago now, but when he was first on the campaign trail, I had a viewpoint on him that was heavily influenced by mainstream media. I still watched MSNBC back then. I can't even believe it. Like, I'm embarrassed. But that is why I'm so hard on the mainstream media, is because I know how influential that is, because I consider myself pretty hard to fool, and they had me absolutely brainwash fooled. Not anymore. Not anymore. And it's been a while now, you know, like it's been a while now. But anyway, we'll come back to that. Now, again, let's just finish this out.
So much. So much.
And this was high school.
Yeah.
What did they, do you remember at all what they said to him or called him?
No. He was just made fun of, I guess, for the way he dressed or his appearance.
Where did they find this kid? Where did they find him? Where did they find him? Where did they find that kid? You know? They're just, oh, we're just doing like we're just kind of interviewing people on the street. It's all, yeah, I'm a classmate of his. You're a classmate of whose? You know, of the guy who just took a shot. You're all, you know who that is already? Yeah, I do. I do know who that is. Because here's the deal. When you talk about the deep state, which if anyone has doubts that that exists, I don't think you understand what the deep state is, and I'll explain it to you in a second, actually. The deep state absolutely exists. And people think it's this weird, ambiguous thing and you can't point to who the people are that are in it. That's inaccurate, because I can point to some people and it'll do a really good job clearing up who we're talking about and how it all works, because it's not even that complicated. To deny that it exists after you understand what we're talking about would be, I mean, I couldn't even think of a word for it, because it's just an objective fact. So if, you know, well, not if, the deep state has propaganda outlets, okay? MSNBC, absolute number one. All of those mainstream media outlets are controlled by 6 companies total, okay? The unification of all the mainstream media is one of the reasons why everything feels so manufactured now, is because you used to have independent media where there were investigative journalists who were actually out to uncover truth and then put it out there. They thought that was important. Now, what we have in mainstream media is propaganda. They pay them a lot of money to say the things that they want them to say. I'm not saying that all the people at MSNBC are in the know either. I'm not one of the people who believes that all of them know that they are putting out lies. I think that they trust their source of information because they are naive in many cases. Others, like Rachel Maddow, I am certain she knows she's lying. But she is, I'm not a fan of hers, you know? Some of them know they're lying, some of them don't, right? But this is where you go to get news from the deep state, what they want you to believe, not what's necessarily true, and in most cases it's not, okay? And so it's MSNBC that finds this kid. Oh yeah, he's just a loner, man. I don't know. One thing he wasn't is a person who had friends. Just a lone gunman, man. Just a lone gunman. So now I want to show you what Nancy Pelosi said, and I covered this on my other video, but I just think this is very important. Then I want to show you the Secret Service agents. And again, we did cover this a little bit in my other video, but I'm going to be a lot meaner in this one. So Nancy Pelosi, after Trump takes a shot to the head. As one whose family has been the victim of political violence, I know firsthand that political violence of any kind has no place in our society. I'm not even going to read the rest of it, actually, because I don't care what she says after that. Okay, I don't need to hear anything else to know that when a president takes a bullet to the ear and almost comes millimeters from getting killed, and your instinct in your press release is to talk about yourself in a situation where you were not the victim of political violence, giving you the full benefit of the doubt that everything happened exactly as people said, and that we just don't have to, or that we will just ignore the fact that when your husband supposedly got hit with a hammer, you can't see it. It's just conveniently off camera. Everything's there on the badge cam except the actual impact from the hammer hitting his head. Listen, dude, I am cynical. Like we just talked about, anything mainstream media, I have a hard time believing any of it. If I can't see the impact, then I don't believe it. It's like, oh, that's convenient, just right out of line of sight. So whatever. But let's say that that's exactly what happened, okay? That was a complete and total crazy person, as was established. This guy was like a mentally ill lunatic from, lived in a van in Berkeley. You think that's the same as someone getting onto a rooftop and actually trying to shoot you in the face while you're on stage? That's the same thing? And even if it was the same thing, why are you talking about yourself? Why? Why are you talking about yourself? So, and I should not say that. One thing I'm trying to not do is put thoughts and words into other people's heads or out of their mouths that they did not say. Because what I think in terms of, are there people who wish that would have gone differently yesterday? Absolutely, I do. I think there were people who were very disappointed that didn't work out the way that they had hoped. I mean, obviously, if there are conspirators, then of course them. But I'm talking about people who, just are American observers. Like, I would love to strap everyone to a lie detector test and go, how do you feel about what happened yesterday? Do you wish that it would have hit and ended Donald Trump? That's the level of lies and manipulation that you've been dealing with for all this time. That I'm telling you, there is not a small number of people where because what someone would say out loud, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about lie detector. Like the thing doesn't lie. Even if they wouldn't want to admit it to themselves, ask directly to where they have to really analyze whether they are telling themselves the truth or out loud. That thing's going to spike on people, dude. I mean, it's like, you think it's going to spike on me? Hey, do you wish that would have gone differently and would have killed him? I'd be like, absolutely not. That line's not spiking. You think it would spike on Dana or any of the guys who support him? Of course not, dude. But the people who secretly wish it would have gone the other way, that one, it's going to spike. And that's disgusting. Because you want to know what else? If you ask me, hey, would you be happy if it was Joe Biden up there and he got hit and that was the end of him? I'd be like, fuck no, I wouldn't be happy. I would be equally upset, to be perfectly honest with you. Obviously, I love Trump and I don't have a lot of love for Biden, but he's still the American president, dude. At the end of the day, you can disagree with their policies, you can disagree with how they do things, you can even think that they're doing things to actively damage the country, but they're still the elected president of the United States. Any person that would wish that for a president or a former president is not the kind of American that I am. That's for goddamn sure. Either it all means something or it doesn't, dude. It all means something or it doesn't mean anything. And I would guarantee you that any real patriots would agree with me. Okay? So let me, let's look at this, dude. So here's where we get into, I mean, like I said, I showed this on our other video on the other channel, but that's a much smaller channel, and I just wanted to show you guys this. Look at this. Look at this. This is who's on his Secret Service detail, okay? This is who is on his Secret Service detail. What are the prerequisites for being a Secret Service agent responsible for protecting the life of a former or current president? Is it that you have to run a mile in under 6.5 minutes, which I could do when I was like 10? Do you think that would be a reasonable thing to require? Yeah, I think it would be. How about just proficiency in holstering, unholstering, and firing a weapon? How about that? Okay. How about being able to win in a fight against the vast majority of humans on Earth? Does that seem reasonable? All of those things seem reasonable? Okay, because how about 0 for fucking 3? Okay, this is who is on his Secret Service detail. Watch this. See that? Look at that. Okay, that might seem like a small thing to people who don't really know what they're looking at. If you're not like a person who kind of follows, tactical military training type channels, or doesn't have a lot of kind of like shooting and tactical training, for a person to fumble like that, reholstering their weapon, shows such an enormous lack of practice that it's kind of unbelievable. And here's the thing. A person can be big and out of shape and slow if they're running, but if they practice muscle memory, they still can be lethal with a firearm. But you want to know how we know that she's not that either? It's because she can't even reholster her gun, dude. Okay? This is someone so unqualified for this role that it's absolutely unreal. I don't need to know a single other thing about her. If someone wants to tell me, oh, well, she's she's actually an expert in, fill in the blank, some other role that doesn't have to do with like quick response and violent, protection or whatever. Okay. Well, so how come she's putting him, like, why is she involved in putting him in the car then? Why does she what is she doing there? And you have the Secret Service people. The Secret Service specifically said they want 30% female Secret Service agents. Okay? What percentage of women aspire to be security, armed security for important politicians? Okay? Like, you just blanket all the most athletic women in the world. Okay? Let's just go into America, right? And you go to all the top athletes, both men and women, and you ask the women, you're like, hey, would you think that it was a cool job for you to be a Secret Service agent? And again, you strap them to the lie detector because they might say, yeah, I think that's cool. And you really find out, do you think that's cool? What percentage of girls are going to say, like, yeah, that's something I really aspire to? Very few. Like, very few. Nowhere near 30%. Okay? How many of the best athlete dudes are going to say, would you think that's a cool job? All of them. And they'd mean it. Okay? So you're going to quota 30% from a population of people who do not want to do this and are clearly not being required to even be good at any part of the job. And then that's who you're going to have protecting the most highly targeted, most likely assassination, victim in the history of the fucking country. This incompetent person. And what I kept coming back to in the other video is like, dude, I have absolutely no doubt that I beat this chick in a fight. And I mean like laughably easily. See, I don't care what her martial arts pedigree is. I whipped this chick's ass. And I should not be able to beat the shit out of any Secret Service agent. I lose fights to guys every single day. Okay? That's my point. I'm not saying I'm super tough. What I'm saying is if there are a dozen guys in my gym that run over me every day, that I go into rounds with them like, well, I guess I'm practicing defense today because I'm not going to be able to have any success offensively because these guys are absolutely elite. I mean, we're an awesome gym, but that's one gym. Okay? The Secret Service agents, these should be the most elite guys in the fucking world. How is she on this detail? Anyway, that's probably enough for today. More information coming. I love you guys, and I love Trump. Oh, what I wanted to say about Trump, too, is like the person who is the president of the United States, what are they? Like what really are they? They are the representative of our collective group. Okay? If you have to understand that is what they really do. Okay? These policies that we enact all over the place, of course, have very real world consequences. But don't pretend that that's what you're voting on, because it's not. You know it, I know it. Okay? And you can tell me that that's not true, but it is true. Now, obviously, if some candidate came out and just said something you absolutely violently oppose, maybe different thing. But what I'm saying is I've heard enough people come out and say, I really actually, I liked a lot of Trump's policies. I really did. Sam Harris, guys like, I like the majority of his policies, but I wouldn't vote for him if he was the last person on earth. And you're like, why not? Well, I don't like him. Okay. All right. You don't like him. So you're picking, so ultimately, whether you like them, don't like them, whatever, they are representing us as a collective. You're telling me this is not who you want representing you? Go get your testosterone checked, dude. This is a man who is standing up to the most unbelievable assault in every possible way. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to seize his properties. They tried to put him in jail. They impeached him on bullshit. They gaslit us the entire way. Stuff we knew he didn't do or is being charged with, that literally the current president had done the exact same thing at the exact same time, almost like they're doing it on purpose to rub our faces in it. And now yesterday gets shot in his, a millimeter from death, and he stands on the stage and pumps his fist and says, fight. That's not the guy that you want representing you? You'd rather have this decrepit old crackhead? I have no ill will towards Biden. I really don't. I think there is a negative 20% chance that Biden had anything to do with orchestrating this. I don't think that Biden could manage a McDonald's. I'm being serious. Do you guys think that if you put Biden in charge of a restaurant, okay, like you're like, all right, you're the new manager. Do you think things, like let's say it's a medium operating, it's a decent sized restaurant, it's an Applebee's, a single Applebee's, and it's operating at mid-tier versus other Applebee's. If you put him in charge, if you put Joe Biden in charge, and then you come back 90 days later, are they operating better or worse? If everybody only can follow his directions and he can't have any help, it's just him. Okay, Trump will whip that place into shape. Biden, it will completely implode. And if you think that's not true, you're an idiot. And if you can acknowledge that, and then you still would, if between those two, if you still would vote for Biden, then you're the problem. Because you're voting emotionally, and you care more about how you feel than the health and well-being of the people in this country and the country as a collective. Fact. Anyway, that's what I got.